All right, Shalom. First off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakahakodash, at the honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. All right, first off, I want to say Shalom to the ones that push this word out in truth and in sincerity, which are the apostles and elders on down to the brothers. And Shalom to the ones that endured his faith until the very end, until the time of Jacob's troubles, which are again the apostles and elders on down to the brothers and a few sisters. All right, so Shalom. So I want to, do this video on something I've been, researching this week, right? Now, the one question that nobody asks, right? Because we all know when it comes to wars, and that even goes actually in ancient times, they actually got that from us, right? Wars have laws, right? They have certain ways that wars are supposed to carry about, right? Wars are not, just all out just killing everything to destroy, right? It actually has, tactic to it. That's why you got, ranks, advisors, that's why you got strategists. That's why you got, different type of laws on what to do in a war, not to do. But there were times when, the Lord told us, to go and smite and kill, right? And take, right? Take the women, take the the riches, everything. Right. And there were times, there's going to be times even today, right? The scriptures prophesied, man. It's the Lord said, go take and kill, right? Kill utterly old and young, right? Spare none, right? But these are different times, right? These are different times that's to come to pass, right? The reason why we got to do that, man, because this whole place is defiled, right? We got to kill the ones that don't have the mark of exemption upon them, right? The ones that have the mark, right? The ones that sigh and cry for the abominations that be done in the midst thereof, right? Now, there's a difference. But when you had war laws back then, which are the same as today, right? Civilian casualties usually aren't supposed to be, harmed, right? Now, in fact, while I'm at it, I might as well just search this up. How many war crimes has the U.S. committed? First thing that pops up, it's so many that, there you go. How many war crimes has the U.S. committed? It's so many that they can't even estimate. That shows, man, the hypocrisy of this society, right? Because they follow war laws as well, and they break every last one of them, right? That goes into Obadiah 1 and 7, right? Because that's talking about them breaking them treaties, right? They break nothing but treaties. Every single one of them. They break them. In fact, I might as well get that scripture. Okay, here we go. This is Obadiah 1 and 7. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, right? So the border is what? Slavery, right? This place is that border. The men of thy confederacy is their military, right? Their power. What else? It says, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, right? So they were known for being at peace with certain, regions of the lands, right? And when they were at peace with them, Esau was known for having, good trade routes, right? Import exports. But they was breaking those treaties, and they broke everything that they had, flourishing, right? Which is what they're going to do now, right? Because all these other countries, they feed off of, the U.S. and the U.S. feeds off of them, especially China. But they're going to break it, right? They're going to break those bonds with each other, right? The U.S. has broken, again, they've broken so many war laws, as it says right here, man. It can't even be estimated or numbered, right? They've been breaking war laws since the beginning, right? Now, it does show a list of main war laws that they've broken, right? The war crimes. Iran of Afghanistan, Damn. What else? It's like 4 or 5 list of them. One of them I'm very familiar with. The My Lai massacre, which was, I believe that was right after the Vietnam War, or actually during it. Right, that was in 1968. Right, and here it goes. A brutal killing of hundreds of unarmed Vietnamese civilians by U.S. soldiers. That's a war crime. The list goes on. It's so many that it all cannot be numbered. So we're in a society, not only that, but our president right now is not even our president, y'all president is a felony, right? He's a felon. So there goes that. That actually does match with this place, which we believe he's modern day Nero, and he most likely is. In fact, I looked into it the same way Nero died. That could be how Trump goes, right? Because Nero, he offed himself because the Senate deemed him as a public enemy. And we can already see that happening. The Senate or the Supreme Court most likely is going to start deeming him as a public enemy. They kind of already do because nobody likes him. The U.S. don't even like him. So, here we go. I'll get this scripture. This is Isaiah 10:1. It says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and write grievousness which they have prescribed." Now, when you go into other translations, even it says, "Woe or destruction unto them that make unfair laws." Right? That's what you call unfair laws, because they've broken the very war laws that they created, as they always do. Shit, what happened again at My Lai massacre during the Vietnam? What did I go into before the Bear River massacre? That was right in between the Civil War, like literally during the Civil War. There's no excuses, right? That's all this man ever does. And then I also have this website. In fact, you can even check it out. It literally just says the war crimes that the military buried, right? And it goes quite into detail. It's like an article. Um, it goes into some very heinous things, right, that the U.S. has done. It even says, again, with Iraq in 2005, they started killing, right? The U.S. soldiers killed a bunch of, civilians, even children. It also goes into how the U.S. soldiers were known to ravish women about the age of Rebecca, if you know how old Rebecca is. And then it also said they had to file like requests of information under this FOIA, which is the Freedom of Information Act. They also break that. The Freedom of Information Act pretty much grants you, literally what it says, freedom of information. You do have the rights to know information, right? But a lot of things that's out here we have to bring up, right? Obadiah verse 6. A lot of things we brought out. Why? Because they don't put out that information. They don't put out the real information. So they already broke that. If they really followed the Freedom of Information Act, we know, or they literally tell us, oh yeah, y'all the true people of the Most High. Oh yeah, that land over there, that's actually yours. But they're not going to do that. So they had to file requests under the Freedom of Information Act, and still a lot of things were hidden, right? Some soldiers were brought into trial after World War II, but most of the cases were dropped and just thrown out. That's crazy. Ain't that but a devil? So this is 2 Corinthians 4:2. It says, "But have renounced the hidden things of dishonesty, not walking in craftiness, nor handling the word of Yahweh deceitfully, but by manifestation of the truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of Yahweh. Right? This is what we're supposed to do. But what they do, that shows, man, they're not our people. They're nothing. They have no honesty. Right? Because he's a vile creature. They literally just walk in dishonesty and walk in craftiness. Now, when you go into craftiness, that goes into, working many different routes, so to say. And that's what they do. They work every single different route to get around things, to hide it, to cover it up. Right? Again, Obadiah verse 6. In fact, I can also read that. Here we go. It's Obadiah 1:6. It says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Right? Through what? The prophets of Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Right? How is his craftiness, found out, pretty much? It's through what? Us. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, man, we constantly bring out, the heinous crimes that he's committed. And the biggest crime that he's committed is what he did to our people. And he still has to pay for that. But yet, you commit a crime today, and years later, they still catching up to you, right? They'll still find you and arrest you if they got enough evidence. And there's clearly enough evidence of what y'all did to an entire nation, because the evidence is still here, right? Our people are still following that Christianity. Our people are still destroyed, right? Hosea 4:6. So why don't y'all have to pay for the things that y'all have done? We still celebrating that Christmas. We still our people still got that spirit or that spell on us, that forgive and forget shit. Nobody's going to sit here and actually, research into the things that y'all've done. But y'all going to sit there and research into the things that we done, when y'all are the ones that did the biggest crimes against us and raped, robbed, and murdered us and took away our heritage. Got us speaking this bullshit of a language, English. So by the Lord's will, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Reka HaKodash, and Shalom.